Aaron adjusted the strap of his diving mask and stepped into the cold water. The ocean was dark and silent, swallowing the light above as he sank deeper. His job was simple: clean out the wreckage of the old cruise ship Odessa Dawn, lost 20 years ago under strange circumstances. The company had finally sent a cleanup team to collect the metal, electronics, and any salvageable remains. Aaron had done this kind of work before, but something about this wreck felt different. The sea was unusually still. No fish, no sound, just pressure and silence. His voice crackled through the comms as he reached the wreck. Descending, approaching main deck. The ship loomed in front of him like a sleeping giant, covered in black moss and corrosion. It tilted slightly on its side, as if still trying to stay afloat in its final moments. Aaron switched on his torch. The beam cut through the murky water, revealing rusted walls, broken glass, and old luggage floating lifelessly. He moved slowly, brushing past thick cables and twisted beams. The ship's name was barely visible on the side, but its haunting history remained sharp in memory. Everyone on board had disappeared. No distress call, no survivors. He entered through a broken side door, pushing gently against the barnacle-covered frame. Inside, the hallway stretched into darkness. Everything was still. Air bubbles rose from his tank, the only sound in the watery grave. His torch lit the path ahead. Room signs, hallway carpets eaten by mold, pictures floating beside him. And then it happened. Movement. Something passed in front of his torch, fast but smooth. Aaron froze. Saw movement. Could be debris, he said. But even he didn't believe his own words. Debris doesn't move like that. He swam forward slowly, his light focused ahead. The movement had come from behind a half-open cabin door, tilted awkwardly like the ship itself. The door had been damaged, a large crack running through the wood. Aaron hesitated, then drifted closer. His heart thudded inside his suit. Maybe it was an animal. Maybe it was a trick of the light. But deep inside, he felt watched. He reached the door and pushed it open gently. It groaned underwater. Inside was a small passenger cabin, mostly destroyed. A bed floated upside down. The curtains waved like ghostly arms in the water. Aaron scanned every corner. Nothing. He began to back away when a soft sound echoed in. His earpiece. A low creak. He turned sharply. The next hallway, where his torch had just passed, was now open. The door that had been closed moments ago now hung ajar. His breath quickened. Confirming breach. Door just opened. No reply. From the surface team. Just static. Aaron swam down the hallway, his light flicking slightly as he moved. At the end of the hall was a large observation room with thick glass windows looking out into the ocean. But this window wasn't facing the outside anymore. It faced a sealed medical unit, completely intact. Odd. Everything else had been torn, apart by time and pressure, but this room remained untouched. The glass looked clean, foggy, like someone inside was breathing. Aaron swam closer, his torch resting on the thick pane, and then he saw it. A pale hand, pressed flat against the inside of the glass, not floating, not drifting, pushed from the inside. His whole body froze. The fingers were long, the nails broken. The skin was swollen bluish-white from water exposure. Aaron's first thought was, this has to be a hallucination. But then the hand moved, slowly, deliberately. It dragged across the glass, leaving a smeared trail behind. Aaron jerked back, heart racing. There's someone inside, alive, or no, this isn't possible. His comms crackled again. Still no reply from the crew. The hand disappeared from the glass. Aaron searched the room for a second entrance, but there was none. The door into the medical room was sealed and the pressure gauge showed no damage. Suddenly his torch flickered, once, twice, and then it went black. Darkness swallowed him. Panic surged in his chest. He fumbled with his backup light and managed to get a dim beam. He swung it quickly in every direction. Nothing. The hand was gone. The hallway was silent again. Only the sound of his own breathing echoed inside his helmet. He looked back at the glass. There was a face now, half floating, pale, and watching him through the glass. Its eyes were open. Not blinking. Not human. Just staring. And then, tap. A soft, slow tap echoed from the other side of the glass. Aaron pushed away from the window, kicking hard toward the hallway. He needed to get out. Now. Whatever was inside that room wasn't a survivor. It wasn't even a person anymore. But as he turned, the hallway behind him had changed. The door he'd entered through was now closed. Aaron stared at the closed door in front of him, heart pounding inside his chest. He hadn't touched it. It was wide open when he came in. He was sure of it. But now sealed tight. The metal looked rusted and old, but something told him it wouldn't open again. Not easily. He turned back toward the medical room, torch still flickering. The face was gone. The glass was fogged up again, like someone inside was breathing. That's not possible, he told himself. No human could survive this long, trapped underwater with no food, no oxygen, not for 20 years. But the fog on the glass wasn't old. It was fresh. Aaron could still see where the hand had slid down. He floated closer, drawn by a mix of fear and curiosity. The door to the medical unit had no rust, no seaweed, no sign of pressure damage. It looked new, like it had been cleaned from the inside. Aaron hovered in front of the glass. Then carefully, he wiped the fog away with his gloved hand. His heart stopped. A figure was standing just inches away on the other side of the glass. Pale skin, long black hair floating like seaweed. Its eyes were open wide, unblinking. White, as if blind but focused straight on him. It didn't move, it didn't breathe hard, just stared. Aaron couldn't look away. The face looked human, almost. But there was something wrong. The skin was stretched tight, and the lips were slightly parted, showing blackened teeth. Its eyes followed him as he shifted, slowly turning its head as he moved. It was alive, or at least it wanted him to think it was. Aaron snapped out of his frozen state and backed away. He radioed in. "Base, this is Aaron. I've found a sealed medical room. Something or someone is inside. I need immediate contact. Do you copy?" No response. He tried again. "Base, please respond." Still nothing. He checked his air supply. Low, but not critical. He had time, just not enough to waste. He needed to find another way out. He turned and followed the hallway further down, away from the sealed room. The walls groaned slightly, the metal under pressure from decades underwater. He passed a collapsed section and found an old stairwell leading deeper into the ship's lower deck. Against his better judgment, he went down. More foggy corridors, more silence. As he passed a cracked window, something caught his eye. His own reflection wasn't moving like him. He turned instantly, torch scanning behind him. Empty. He stared, back at the glass. Now the reflection was normal again. He took a deep breath. Calm down. Focus. At the end of the lower deck, he found a control room. The door was open, but the inside was dark. Aaron pushed through slowly, his torch revealing control panels, old monitors, and broken wires floating gently like vines. He noticed a blinking red light in one corner. It was a recording unit, still active. That shouldn't be possible. He swam over, brushed off the dust and moss, and hit playback. The screen flickered, then static, then footage. The timestamp read, 20 years ago. It showed the medical room, clean, bright, with doctors moving around. There were stretchers, test tubes, a woman strapped to a bed unconscious, then alarms. The lights flashed red. People ran. One by one they collapsed, blood leaking from their noses and ears. In the chaos, one camera feed showed something crawl out from under one of the beds. It didn't walk. It slithered, like its bones were broken. Then the footage ended. Aaron stared at the black screen, heart in his throat. He wasn't just cleaning a wreck. He was inside a lab that had been shut down for a reason. He turned to leave, but stopped. The control room door was closing, slowly, on its own. He pushed toward it, but it slammed shut before he could get out. The lights in the room flickered, then dimmed. Something was outside. He could hear it now, scraping across the floor, not walking, dragging. He turned off his torch and floated silently, trying not to breathe loud. Seconds passed, then tap. A soft knock on the glass window of the control room. He turned his head slowly. The face was there again, pressed against the glass, watching him. Mouth opened slightly wider now. It didn't blink, it didn't breathe, but it smiled. A slow, wide, inhuman smile. Aaron screamed, but no sound came out in the water. He backed away, banging into a monitor. Behind him, the lights went out completely. Darkness swallowed everything. And in the dark, he heard a whisper, not through his radio, but inside his helmet. A voice, soft, cold, and wrong. "Let me out." Aaron floated in pitch blackness, heart hammering inside his chest. The whisper still echoed in his helmet. Soft, cold, impossible. He gripped the control panel, blinking rapidly, trying to steady his breathing. He had to stay calm, had to think. He turned his torch back on. The face behind the window was gone. Only the smeared print of a palm remained on the glass, slowly fading. He had to get out of this room. Fast. Aaron checked the control panel again. Most of the systems were dead, but the camera log was still active. Maybe it held answers. Maybe if he could figure out what happened here, he could understand what that thing was and how to avoid it. He pulled the hard drive from the main terminal and attached it to his own wrist screen. The files loaded slowly. He opened the final folder, Logs, Last 24 Hours. The screen flickered. Grainy footage played from inside the medical bay. Aaron recognized it. It was the same sealed room with the foggy glass, but this was before it was wrecked. The room looked clean, bright, sterile. People moved in and out wearing white suits. A woman was strapped to a hospital bed. She looked weak, her face pale, her eyes sunken. A voice came from the video, flat, clinical. Subject 12, female, age 26. Still unresponsive. Genetic samples holding stable. Mental activity increasing. The doctors were running tests, checking readings, injecting something into her arm. Aaron's stomach turned. This wasn't a cruise ship. It was a floating lab. The footage jumped ahead. The woman on the bed began to twitch. The lights flickered. One of the scientists tried to sedate her, but she grabbed his arm, hard. The footage blurred as the camera struggled to focus. Then a loud alarm rang. Red warning lights flashed across the screen. The woman sat up suddenly, her back cracking in a way no human spine should move. Her mouth opened, wide. Too wide. The camera's audio picked up screams. One by one, the doctors fell. Blood sprayed across the walls. The woman didn't attack them, not with her hands. She looked at them, and they screamed, clutched their heads, and died. Aaron's fingers trembled. He fast-forwarded the footage. The camera was still recording after the attack. The woman now stood alone in the room, breathing slowly, watching the door. Hours passed. Then something strange happened. She turned and stared directly into the camera lens. Aaron flinched. Her eyes were dead white, but locked onto whoever was watching, as if she knew. Even now, even through the years, even through the screen. She smiled. The screen glitched. Aaron shut it off immediately. He floated there for a moment, trying to catch his breath. Then he noticed something worse. His reflection in the monitor screen wasn't his. It was her face, pale, twisted, floating behind him. He turned sharply. Nothing. Just the empty control room, still dark and still wrong. He checked the door. It was stuck, jammed tight. He pulled out a small emergency cutter from his belt and began slicing through the side panel. Sparks floated into the water. A slow groaning sound followed, and the door finally opened an inch. Enough to slip through. Aaron pushed into the hallway again, turning left, away from the medical room. His oxygen tank was lower now. Maybe 15 minutes. He had to find a way out. He swam deeper. He passed more cabins. Many were destroyed, walls collapsed, beds floating upside down. In one room, he saw scratches on the inside of the glass window, deep claw-like marks. In another, furniture floated neatly in place, untouched, as if someone had just left the room. But the weirdest part, there were no bodies, not a single one. 200 people were on this ship when it vanished. Where were they? Then he found something. Oxy, a metal door marked, "Crew Secure Storage Authorized Only." It was slightly open. Inside, he found a set of emergency hard drives and black boxes, old but still sealed. One had a label, "Incident Record, Priority Lockdown." He plugged it into his wrist screen. Another video began. This one was from a hallway camera. A man in uniform, a captain, was shouting into a radio, blood dripping from his nose. "She's loose, she's not human, we were wrong, she's not from here." A voice answered, panicked, distorted by static. "Evacuate now, seal the ship. If she gets to the surface." The video cut off. Another feed began, a camera near the escape pods. It showed passengers screaming, pushing, fighting to get in. But the pod doors didn't open. Then they stopped screaming. One by one, they turned toward the hallway. As the woman walked in, hair floating around her like ink in water, she didn't move fast. But everyone froze, silent. Their eyes rolled back, and they began walking with her. No panic, no sound, just obedience. The footage ended. Aaron floated in the silence, cold sweat inside his suit. This wasn't a cleaning job. It was a cover-up, and now he was trapped here, just like they were. Suddenly he heard movement behind him. He turned. Nothing there. But the door to the room he just left was slowly closing again. Aaron's lungs felt tight. His oxygen levels were dropping fast, and the suit's warning alarm began to blink yellow. But he didn't care. Not now. Not after what he saw. He floated there, watching the heavy metal door behind him slowly swing shut again, by itself. Something was closing the doors behind him. He turned and swam hard down a dark hallway lined with broken cabin doors. His torchlight flickered again, and he banged it once against his hand. The beam steadied for now. Every corridor looked the same, rusted, twisted, filled with floating memories. A child's shoe, a cracked dinner tray, a single gold bracelet, gently spinning in the water. He reached the main stairwell again and looked up. It went all the way to the upper deck, where the escape hatch should be. But something was wrong. Water was pouring down from above. He swam up quickly. The water should be still. This ship had been resting for years. But it wasn't. The flow was steady, cold, and fast, like something had opened a door on purpose. When Aaron reached the top, he found the source. The main cargo hatch, the only exit point they used to enter, was now wide open. That should have been impossible. The pressure outside would crush anything in its path if left open this long. But the door stood there, calmly open like a mouth waiting to swallow him. And in front of the hatch, a shape, not fully human, not fully anything, floating. It was the woman, her face pale, eyes glowing faintly in the dark water. She didn't swim. She drifted toward him. Aaron froze. He kicked backward, heart pounding. But as she moved closer, he saw something worse. Her face wasn't the same anymore. It shifted, twisted, as if her skin was trying to remember being human. But it was failing. Her mouth opened slowly, and something black leaked out, like ink. It floated toward him, curling through the water, reaching. Aaron turned and kicked hard, down the stairs again. The black ink chased him like smoke in slow motion. His torch flickered again. He didn't stop. He flew through the hallway, narrowly avoiding jagged debris, breathing faster now. The voice returned in his helmet, faint, whispering, "You're almost ready." Aaron screamed, "Get out of my head." But he wasn't sure if it was the water pressure or her voice that hurt more. He swam toward the ship's engineering bay, one place they hadn't sealed yet. Maybe he could hide. Or better, maybe he could blow the reactor core and destroy whatever she was. The engineering doors were slightly open. He forced them wider and slipped inside. The room was massive. Old turbines, broken consoles, twisted wires everywhere. But in the far corner something glowed, a soft red light. He swam toward it. An emergency beacon, still active. He grabbed it, pulled off the plastic case, and activated the distress signal. A tiny green light began blinking. It wouldn't transmit far underwater. But if the surface crew was searching, maybe they'd see it. Then the room changed. It got colder. The walls creaked, and behind him, a low whisper. "You brought me light." Aaron turned slowly. She was there, inside the engineering room. No door had opened. No sound. No splash. She just appeared. Her eyes locked onto his. Her body didn't move, but her hair floated out like it was alive, spreading across the room like roots. Aaron backed away, hand shaking, reaching for his belt. He had one emergency charge, enough to blast open a door or maybe take a wall down, maybe enough to destroy her. He pressed the code, a soft beep. Then, he threw it at her and turned. Boom. The explosion lit the water with a burst of white fire and shrapnel. Aaron was thrown, hard against the wall. His vision blurred. The alarm in his helmet screamed, "Warning, suit damage, oxygen low," but he was still alive. He turned his head. The room was torn apart. Metal floated in pieces. Wires drifted like jellyfish. But she was gone. Nothing left. Just silence. Aaron didn't wait. He pushed through the broken wall and swam up toward the escape route again. He passed the medical wing, still sealed. The pale handprint was gone from the window. He reached the upper hatch, still open. He swam through it, back into open ocean. No sign of her. No voice. Just the cold silence of the deep. He activated his beacon again, sending pulses upward. Then he waited, and waited. His oxygen dropped to 10%. Then, a light. Far above him, a shape, a submersible. It was real. He kicked upward with everything he had, lungs burning. The voice in his helmet whispered again, soft like a goodbye. "You opened the door," Aaron screamed, ripping off his helmet as the sub's hatch opened and hands reached down to pull him out. He gasped in real air for the first time in hours. Alive. But something wasn't right. As they checked his vitals and cut his suit off, a crewman frowned. "Hey, what's that on your back?" Aaron turned slightly. Black ink leaking through his suit. Aaron sat inside the submersible, shivering. Not from cold, but from something deeper, something inside him. The rescue crew didn't know what to do. One of them wrapped a thermal blanket around his shoulders. Another handed him a bottle of water. But they all kept stealing glances. At the ink, it was spreading. It started as a small patch on the back of his suit. Now it had crept onto his neck, black and wet-looking, like oil. But it didn't feel wet. It felt warm. Alive. Aaron tried to speak, but his throat felt thick, like something was pressing from inside. One of the crew members leaned close. "We're 200 meters from surface. Almost there, you're safe." Aaron wanted to believe him, but he wasn't safe, and they weren't either. He looked out the tiny sub window. Nothing but darkness. But then, he saw it. Far in the black behind them. Two faint white lights, like eyes, watching, blinked and they were gone. But he knew. She was following. The sub surfaced with a loud metal groan. The crew opened the hatch and pulled Aaron onto the deck of the research ship. He squinted as the harsh sunlight hit his face. It felt wrong, too bright, too hot. They rushed him to the infirmary, cutting away the rest of his suit. A nurse gasped. The ink had spread across his chest now like veins crawling toward his heart. Did he touch anything? Someone asked. Aaron whispered. No. It touched me. The doctor looked at him sharply. What touched you? Aaron stared at the ceiling. She's not dead. I saw her. She followed me. The crew shared looks. They thought he was losing, but he knew better. That black ink, it wasn't just on his body. It was inside, growing, feeding. That night, alone in the medical bay, Aaron couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face, floating just behind the glass, smiling, eyes wide, waiting. At 2:17 a.m., the heart monitor next to his bed beeped erratically. He sat up. Something was moving under his skin. He could feel it, crawling, stretching, trying to remember how to be human. He stumbled to the bathroom, turned on the light and looked in the mirror. His eyes were changing, the whites were gone, replaced by a faint cloudy gray. His pupils looked wrong, elongated, not human. He backed away. No, no, no. Suddenly his radio buzzed on the nightstand. He picked it up, crackling static, then her voice. Soft, calm, terrifying. You carried me out. Thank you. Aaron screamed and smashed the radio on the floor. The lights flickered. The medical bay door creaked. He wasn't alone anymore. Morning came. But something was off. No one had seen the captain. No one had seen the crewman who helped Aaron aboard. 2 people. Missing. Aaron sat on the edge of the bed, still wrapped in the blanket, the black marks now covering most of his chest and creeping up his jaw. He wasn't breathing fast anymore. He wasn't breathing at all. The medical equipment didn't register panic or pain. It couldn't register what he was becoming. He stared at his reflection in the metal tray beside him. For a moment, it wasn't his face looking back. It was hers. Her smile. Her eyes. Inside him. He stumbled outside onto the main deck. The sea was calm. Too calm. No birds. No wind. No sound. Then, he heard it. A splash behind the ship. He turned. A pale hand was gripping the edge of the deck. Then another. She pulled herself up, water sliding off her hair, her mouth still twisted in that unnatural smile. And she wasn't alone. Behind her, dozens more figures were rising from the sea. Men, women, children, all dead for years, all still breathing. The crew screamed. Chaos exploded across the deck. Aaron dropped to his knees, but he didn't scream. He didn't run. He understood now. He wasn't a survivor. He was the door. Aaron didn't move. He sat frozen on the ship's deck as the pale woman climbed aboard, her wet hair sticking to her face, her eyes glowing white in the sunlight. Behind her, the others emerged, dripping, silent and wrong. They didn't scream. They didn't attack. They just walked, slowly, calmly, as if they belonged there, as if they never drowned. The crew panicked. Some ran for weapons. Others tried to lower the lifeboats. But it didn't matter. One by one, the crew froze in place, staring at her. And then, they dropped. Not dead. Just changed. Their eyes turned gray. Their bodies went still. Their faces went blank. The infection wasn't blood. It wasn't a bite. It was her. She was inside them now, like she was inside Aaron. He stood up slowly, the black ink pulsing under his skin. He could feel her in his chest, whispering, guiding. But she didn't want to control him. She wanted him to accept it. He looked around at the fallen crew, then at her. Her mouth didn't move, but her voice echoed in his mind. You are the door, Aaron. You brought us home. He shook his head. No, you tricked me. We didn't trick you. We chose you. Suddenly, he remembered something. The files, the video logs. That woman, Subject 12, they never said where she came from. Only that she wasn't normal. What if she wasn't human at all? What if the wrecked ship wasn't just a lab, but a prison? A floating tomb at the bottom of the sea, and Aaron had opened it. He turned and ran, dodging the slow-moving bodies. Their heads turned to watch him, but none gave chase. It was like they already knew where he would go, like she let him run. He made it to the control room, locked the door behind him, and grabbed the emergency radio. Mayday. Mayday! This is the RV Neptune. We are under attack by something. Unknown biological threat. Repeat, unknown threat. The radio cut to static. Then the screen flickered. Her face appeared, not on the monitor, but in the glass. Reflection. Behind him. Aaron spun. Nothing. But the door lock clicked open. He grabbed the flare gun from the emergency kit and aimed it at the entrance. The pale woman stepped in. Aaron fired. The red flare exploded into her chest. Fire, smoke, light. She staggered but didn't scream, didn't bleed, just smiled. Her skin burned away, but underneath, there was something worse. No bones. No organs, just darkness, moving like smoke trapped in a shape. She wasn't human at all. Not anymore. Aaron turned and jumped through the side window, crashing into the sea below. He didn't care about the height. Didn't care if it broke his ribs. Had to get off the ship. The cold hit him hard. He gasped and swam toward the lifeboats still floating nearby. As he climbed into one, he looked back. The research ship was changing. Black tendrils were crawling up the side of the hull, spreading, like vines, like infection. The crew stood still, staring into the sky, like statues, and at the top of the bridge, she stood, arms outstretched, welcoming something above. Aaron didn't wait. He started the engine and sped away. He didn't look back again, not for a long time. Hours passed. The sun was lower now, the ocean calm, too calm. Then from the clouds, he saw something fall, slowly, like ash. Black flakes. They landed on the water and disappeared. Aaron touched one with his finger. It melted into his skin. His heartbeat slowed. His eyes blurred, and in the silence, her voice returned. You can run, Aaron, but you are still ours. He screamed into the sea, but the sea did not scream back. The lifeboat drifted quietly across the endless sea. Aaron sat hunched near the motor, rocking slowly, his hands shaking. The fuel gauge blinked red, almost empty. He didn't care. All he wanted now was distance. Space between him and the ship. Between him and her. But he knew the truth. There was no real distance anymore. She was inside him now. He rubbed his arms where the black veins once spread. But they were gone now. Faded, like nothing had happened, except it had. He touched his chest. Still warm, still breathing, still human. But his reflection in the water? Not quite right. His eyes looked older. Gray. Like they had seen too much. The clouds thickened above. The sun disappeared behind a veil of fog. The ocean turned dark again, like the deep. Aaron checked the emergency kit. One flare left. A bit of water. A broken satellite phone. No signal, just silence. Then, tap, tap, tap. He froze. It came from under the boat. He leaned over the side and looked down. Just water. Black. Endless. Tap. This time on the other side, like something circling. He stood, heart pounding. Picked up the emergency flare gun again. A wave rocked the boat. A big one. Another wave. Bigger. Then, bang. Something hit the bottom of the lifeboat hard. Aaron fell. The boat tipped, but didn't flip. He scrambled to the edge again, eyes scanning the water. Nothing. Until a hand. Floating, attached to nothing. Just a hand. Pale and bloated. Slowly rising next to the boat like it had been waiting. Aaron backed away. Then, another hand. And another. More and more, all around the boat, reaching up. Suddenly. Thump. Something. Climbed aboard. He turned. It was one of the crew, or what used to be him. Eyes gray, mouth half open, no breath, no blinking, just watching. Aaron shouted, "You're dead! You're all dead!" The thing didn't answer. Another figure climbed over. Then, another. The lifeboat tilted. Too many. Aaron fired the flare gun straight into one of their faces. Whoosh! The light burst, fire and smoke filling the air. The creature fell overboard, burning. But it didn't scream. Didn't fight. Just sank. The others paused, then slowly turned to look at Aaron again. Not angry, not afraid, just waiting. Aaron reached for the oar, swinging it wildly. "Get off." He struck one. Its head twisted sideways, but the body didn't fall. It leaned forward, eyes inches from his, and spoke. In her voice, "You brought us back. Now take us further." Aaron screamed and jumped into the sea. He didn't think, just swam. The cold hit his chest like a hammer, but he pushed through. He didn't know where he was going, just away. The fog above swallowed everything. No sun, no boat, no horizon. Just endless black water. Then he saw something. A light below him, red and pulsing. He swam closer. Was it a rescue beacon? A submersible? But as he got closer, he realized it wasn't a light, it was an eye, huge, alive, and looking right at him. Aaron screamed underwater, bubbles rushing to the surface. The eye blinked once. Then, everything shook. A deep rumble passed through the ocean. Something was rising, from the deep, from beneath the wreck. Not just her, but the source. What had been sleeping all this time? Aaron kicked hard, swimming back to the surface. He gasped as he broke through the waves. The sea behind him was churning now, spinning, forming a giant black whirlpool, and in the center, a shape was rising, tall, massive. Not a creature, not a machine, something ancient, covered in glowing runes and black stone. It wasn't the woman anymore. It was what she served. Aaron floated, helpless, watching the end begin. And inside his head, her voice whispered again. You were never meant to escape. You were only meant to open the door. Aaron floated alone in the sea, staring at the towering shape rising from the depths. It wasn't a shipwreck. It wasn't a monster. It was older than both. Older than memory. Carved in black stone, glowing from inside with red symbols that pulsed like a beating heart, and it was awake. Aaron wanted to swim away, but he couldn't move. The water around him had turned thick like it was holding him in place. The voice returned, her voice, not screaming, not angry, just calm. You opened the path. That is enough. He trembled. What are you? You would call us a mistake, she said. We were hidden deep beneath the sea, buried in silence, but humans dig, they search. They want what they cannot understand. Aaron's mind burned. Memories poured in. Memories that weren't his. Of a time before humans. Of dark cities under oceans. Of creatures that wore human faces, walked among humans and waited. And then, of war. Humans found them, tried to destroy them, and so they slept. Until now. Until him. Aaron screamed, but no sound came out. He was sinking. Slowly. Silently. Pulled toward the black structure, like a magnet. His arms stopped moving. His lungs didn't need air. Something inside him had changed. As he sank deeper, he saw the pale woman again, floating next to him. Not swimming, just drifting. She smiled, and for the first time, looked sad. You were chosen because you listened, because you were alone. You were already drowning before you ever touched the water. Tears filled Aaron's eyes. I didn't want this. She nodded. No one ever does. Below them, the structure opened, a wide circular entrance with spinning rings of red light, like a gate. Aaron floated closer. Inside, hundreds of other figures waited. Not dead. Not alive. Not human anymore. They stared with blank eyes, waiting for him. He looked at the woman one last time. Is this the end? No, she said softly. This is the beginning. Then, light. Blinding, white light. Aaron woke up screaming. He was in a hospital bed, on land. Dry sheets, a beeping heart monitor, nurses shouting. A doctor ran in. He's conscious. Aaron gasped for air. Where am I? You were found drifting near the coast, the doctor said. No ID, no lifeboat, just you, floating. Aaron blinked. It was real. It had happened. But and was he back? Was he really saved? The doctor handed him a mirror. You hit your head. There's some scarring, but you're lucky. Aaron raised the mirror. His face looked normal. Human except, in his eyes, just for a second, he saw a faint gray shimmer. Then it vanished. He smiled weakly. But inside, he knew. He hadn't escaped. He had brought something back. 1 month later. The ocean looked calm. A research team on a different ship lowered a drone into the deep. They were investigating strange readings, new energy patterns off the coast. The water there felt colder, heavier. The camera feed flickered. Then it went dark. For 1 second, just one frame. The screen showed a pale woman floating in the black, smiling, watching, waiting, and just before the signal was lost, a soft whisper on the audio. Thank you, Aaron.